everybody. Mark Thompson here with the team behind the team interview series. Want to welcome everybody to another one of our interview series for USA Table Tennis. We're joined by an elite group here. We really do have the team behind the team. I think we've got the A team behind the team here, starting with, of course, our high performance director, Sean O'Neill, and also our staff member, Josh Dyke, is with us as well. And we have the coaching committee, because tonight we're going to be talking about the new coaching online course, the certification program that USATT has put into program. Let me introduce everybody right off the start. With up in the upper left of the shot that I'm looking at, we've got Dave Fullen. Dave, thank you very much for joining us today. Everybody in the center knows the center star is Larry Hodges. Why not for that? We've got PK Franzen with us, and of course, the great Gao Jun. Gao, thank you very much for joining us today. It's great to have you here. Obviously, the purpose of tonight's call is to talk a little bit about the coaching certification program that is online right now on the USATT website. First time we've done this. And let me start with PK right off the hop. Obviously, PK, this is a big project that USATT is undertaking. Let's start with the why first. Why did USATT believe that it was necessary to create a coaching certification program limited to USATT on the website online?
Well, it's always important as a coach to educate yourself, and it's a good connection, I think, between practical and theoretical knowledge. So some come from the theoretical side and want to know more about how to do the strokes and how to show the strokes, and other ones come from the opposite side, are good players, but need to know the background from the, let's say, for example, also from the strokes. So that would be good, and especially in these times where we cannot go in the hall so often, or almost not at all, unfortunately, it's a good time to do this online course.
You know, obviously, right now, as you note, that with the pandemic circumstance, it seems like online is a very practical way of going about this. And as I understand it, it is a phased program. The first phase being really something that you can do purely online by yourself. You just sign up. You have to be qualified. And we'll talk about the qualifications in just a moment, but you sign up and you're able to kind of advance through some early online training to where you ultimately get hands-on training with coaches. Even though it may be online, you are working one-on-one with certified coaches already.
Right, that's the idea. So you can start off with, we made, Dave made that actually a lot of videos for different strokes, but also warming up or how to get some feeling for the ball, these kind of developments. You have to watch them all, and then you go to a quiz. And for this quiz, then you will find out some things you still need to learn and some things you already know. It's not like a pass or fail. It's much more that you learn what you need to improve on. And especially these targets we will focus on in the interview that we do with the people who take the course.
You know, Dave, let's talk a little bit about creating those videos. It sounds like that was, you know, I don't want to say monumental, but a big task to undertake to develop this series of videos to begin this program as USATT creates an online certification program.
Once we found the right material, the right content, it started coming together a lot easier. And it was really fun for me to work with some really great content, some Samsonov, some other up and coming players, more current, and just really kind of get a refresher on all the different strokes that we wanted to include in this. Yeah, I think the content is excellent.
You know, we talk about the kind of the process of going through this. How did you organize it? If a person goes on the website, signs up for the coaching certificate program, what are they going to see? What's going to be the ABCD process of going through there video-wise?
Josh, you kind of laid it out curriculum-wise. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, so you're going to start out with warm-ups. You'll get a look into basic stroke techniques anywhere from, and then you move on to lobs and smashes. It's going to go through mostly stroke techniques and how you can, like, techniques that will be applicable at the club coach level. So it seems like we love the process of having different rankings of coachings and different certifications for and when you're starting at the club level, you don't want to start too fast because there's abilities that are applicable to each coaching level, and we think we did a good job at exploring those before you take the test and get your evaluation for your practical training.
Larry, you've been around coaching forever in table tennis.
Well,
This is kind of a new path that people are exploring, investigating, and developing. And that would, I'm curious about your thoughts about the coaching process of training a coach online. What do you think about the impact that will have on the coaching world?
It'd been nice to have had 30 years ago. We're finally modernizing it because we basically, most of what we've been doing has been based on stuff that was set up almost 30 years ago. I remember the coaching chair back then was struggling to find ways to get things like this to happen, and that was me. And so we've been using archaic methods. Finally, we're getting back out of the Stone Age. There's a lot of things you can do online. There are some things you want to do in person, especially at higher levels, but at lower levels, it's all pretty much standardized in general as far as what you teach a coach. So by doing online, you don't have to have a coach go out there and redo the same thing over and over and over. So you can get a lot more training done this way as the coaches work their way up at the start. And it makes you can cover the whole country with a lot fewer coaches, and it's no longer a problem where a prospective coach lives. If he's in the middle of nowhere, he's right in the middle of everything. If he has an internet connection, he just gets online.
The first step is this club coaching certification. And Sean, it appears to me that it really is designed to bring somebody in who is interested in being a mentor in table tennis and kind of developing this process of building what I would call almost the ground level for coaches, which are so important, I think, in the United States of America. It's one thing to coach elite athletes. It's another thing to introduce people into the sport and getting them playing it the right way. I'm interested on your thoughts as the high performance director of kind of spreading out this base that we have in America on the coaching concept.
Yeah, well, speaking with PK, speaking with Gaos, speaking with Larry, and with Dave, we all know the importance of the fundamentals. You want to get the fundamentals right, because if those are strong, then the build is a lot easier. And by using a player like Vladimir Samsonov, who's world renowned for just the cleanest and most balanced strokes, we think we're going to give local coaches and then their players by transition the ability to see a good set of forms, good movements, as Josh was saying, both strokes, movements, footwork, and then also some real good general facts, whether it's with diet, nutrition, things that coaches should be aware of that go across sport platforms. And I think as coaches go through the different steps, they'll get excited because it will allow them to be that much more effective as they're coaching players rated, whether they're 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, or if they want to make the national team. So I've just been amazed by this whole process, really being led by Dave's hard work to put everything together, but also with Josh's guidance, Larry's insight, PK's amazing European background, and Gao's Asian background in the sport. So I think we really have the perfect first step to go on to the next level.
I think Gao is a great case in point. Obviously it's played at the highest level of table tennis, has coached at the highest level of table tennis, and been coached at the highest level, and now kind of translating and bringing those skills to people who are trying to make that path as well. What has your experience been like in this coaching certification program, Gao? Are you hopeful for what we see into the future of developing this process to be able to kind of push people through the pipeline to make them go from, or help them go from one stage to another in developing a strong coaching background for people in the United States?
To be honestly, this is my first time that, usually I coach the player, this is the first time that, as a coach, I coach the coach. So because so far I don't know who signed up for this courses. And, I wanted to know their level. And if I try to teach them, I wanted to know what they know, that I can, give them some idea that what I know, because sometimes if you already have some levels or you already knows something that it's kind of, I mean, it's not hard. It's a little difficult to change them or change their mind, you know, what to do, you know, like, and especially for table tennis, there's not like 100% correct or not correct, you know. So for my,
a lot of latitude in there.
Yeah, so because the ball, every single ball comes different. Speed, spin, and then power and timing. So everything is different. You cannot just, you know, tell them, okay, what to do. So it really requires a lot, you know, experience. So if they don't know at all, so it's much easier to teach them, like, you know, like teach a student. They don't know how to play, right? So you can just tell them what to do.
You got a blank slate. You can basically
Yeah.
start from ground zero. But when somebody has a
Yeah.
preconceived notion, it becomes
Right.
much more difficult to change that notion or change that habit into the
Right.
proper way.
Yes, and then so for my opinion, that I really don't care the stroke, you know, whether you play like this or you play like that, doesn't matter, as long as you put it on the table. You know, that's my opinion. And it doesn't matter you hit hard and then you hit soft, as long as you make the ball on table. You know, you spin the ball on table, you smash the ball on table. So that's most important as a coach. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter what level. So
I love that philosophy.
Yeah, and
Put it on the table. It's the best coaching you can get.
no, seriously, you know, even
No,
you
I'm
coach.
serious too.
Yeah, it's like even you coach international level, you know, from beginning, maybe you try to tell them that, okay, just take it easy, put everything on the table to build up the confidence. Yeah, same thing when you coach the coach, you know, probably, you know, what I'm going to do, you know, I will try to do the same as I coach the student, like a, you know, player, that, you know, what to do as a, you know, player, not like, okay, you have to do this, you have to do that, because they're also a coach. They have their own opinion and then also have their own experience. So maybe just for low level or for the club level, maybe just you know, easy step.
And that's where we're at right now, is this club level. I'm Mark Thompson. I've got Sean O'Neill. We've got Josh Dyke from the office as well. Dave Fullen. Of course, we've got Larry Hodges and PK Franzen and Gao Jun here talking about the coaching certification program for USATT. It's online right now. If you're interested, you can go on USATT's website and kind of follow the links and get involved. There are a few requirements. I'll give you those right now. Of course, you have to be a USATT member in good standing to participate in the program. You do have to be Safe Sport compliant. You do sign the USATT Code of Conduct as well. Got to be 16 years of age, and you also have to be a member of USATT for 2 years, or a member of a foreign table tennis association for 2 years, or have a USATT rating of 1500. Those are the requirements. If you meet those requirements, you can get involved right now and be a part of the coaching certification program for USATT. PK, I think Gao just made a great point. It's one thing, and all of you that we're looking at here are, you know, that are coaches, you know, of players, or for the most part. You know, most of what you do is coach individuals to improve their performance as a player. It's a little bit different to coach somebody to coach another person. So what has your experience been along those lines, PK? What did you try to bring to try to assist somebody who wants to help another person? What are the differences? And what elements would you say are most important along those lines?
Well, it's very interesting that what Gao said, and that I agree with. Well, you can do whatever to put the ball on the table. Of course, we need to follow the laws of nature, right? That's the only thing we cannot say there's no gravity. But anything else, I agree with that, because you need to understand as a coach that you deal with individuals. And that's very important. So everybody has also their own preferences of movement, has also, maybe somebody is good with the small things, has good feeling wrist, somebody has bigger, the bigger muscles are more important. For everybody's different. So that's actually very interesting for me as a coach, is to find out what are the strengths from each player. And so you need to teach the coach that also that nobody is the same. So really the technical thing, I tell many times, technique for me is a mean to put the ball on the table. Technique is not a goal. Just look at the top 10 in the world, all different kinds of technique. So this is very important. And then there's another thing is, as a coach, you need to understand also, I call it BLM. It's not what it matters at what it means at the moment, but it's, you should not be a BLM coach. It means be like me. Everybody's different. Don't be like me, coach. That's very important also. And the third thing I would say is, I teach the coach is, if you want to guide somebody, you need to connect to somebody, right? In the beginning, it can just work. Well, you do it just because I tell you, but after a few months, that doesn't work anymore. If you want to guide somebody, you really need to connect, and then you can explain, and then you have much more chance that coaches will develop and players will develop also. So you need to see, treat everybody as an individual. That's very important that the coach is aware of this.
Well, I think PK makes some great points there. And one, Dave, that I think that stands out to me is something, you know, I come a little bit from the golf world, I've experienced that a little bit, is that it seems like a lot of teaching professionals teach what they know. They teach their swing to somebody else. It sounds like a part of the philosophy here with the coaching certification program is to try to really teach the coach to analyze the player and to really try to develop that player with their skill set to the best of their ability, rather than just say, this is the way I do it, so just do it like PK just said, be like me. It doesn't seem like that is really that effective way of coaching. I don't know whether you've got a comment on that, Dave, or not, or whether you think that your experience.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I've had a number of different coaches, and essentially their approach was do it like me. And looking back, I learned a lot of different do it like me styles. So as a coach, now I can kind of draw on all those to try to take advantage of, like what PK said, what's the individual's preference. And I teach a lot of developing beginning, low, intermediate level players. And after a while, you kind of abandon, you know, this is how you should do it, to, well, this is how it seems to be working for you. So let's just build on that. And like Gaos said, get the ball on the table. That's the most important thing.
You know, Larry, when we talk about this coaching certification program, a big part, obviously there's a physical element. We've talked about the warm up, actually the strokes that are played, very physical element. But it seems to me, and you've been coaching, as I noted earlier, for an extremely long time, that a big part of coaching table tennis is a really big part of the game. That's the mental side, and how you incorporate that with other coaches. You know, teaching a coach to deal with a player on the mental approach. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, Larry. What's the best way to try to develop strong players, not only physically, but on the mental side?
Surprisingly, one of the best ways is if you see a player who needs to be stronger mentally, and you know, the obvious thing, people say, oh, study sports psychology, but a lot of times point them towards a top player who has a very strong mental attitude. If you have a kid who's cries when he misses a shot and starts falling apart, or a guy starts yelling, oh, why am I missing these shots? I'm no good. I'll say, okay, who's your favorite player? Does he ever do it? Does this top player ever do that? So emulate the top players. Now, some of them, they go, yeah, when they win a point, and some people like that. Others are icy cold. They're so focused. So emulate the one that you think best fits. You know, players are different. Some go out there and they're literally never say a word. If you look at the top players, some are just literally have an icy stare the whole time they play. Others are more emotional, but it's always positive emotion. So if you want someone to have a good sports psychology, have them study those players. Now, it also helps once they've got into it. You know, there are a lot of books and videos and things like that to help out that way. But the key thing is you have to, this is a sport where you have to react really fast. You can't do that unless your mind is clear. Mind is not going to be clear if you're moping about the last shot or thinking I can't win or do something like that. So, but the biggest thing is just simply look what the top players do and pick something like that and, you know, see what works.
You know, Sean, we're talking about the coaching certification program right now. It's the club level that is available online at USATT's website, but obviously there are courses that are anticipated to develop over time. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the future of coaching? What are we looking at? I mean, you've seen it evolve over time in your situation with USA Table Tennis and as an elite level player and an Olympian. What do you think that we're going to see in the future developing coaching wise for table tennis?
Well, I'm truly excited because what we have seen in the US is coaches from around the world that have relocated to the US has just elevated our level of knowledge. And it's really encouraging to see whether it's PK, whether it's Gao. I mean, Larry and I, we've been to the Danny C. Miller camps or the Wuvenich and Chan camps back in the 70s and 80s, but to see the newer techniques, the newer ways of doing things, I mean, it makes me feel like all coaches in some ways become students of the game. We always have to be thinking about where will the game be in the next 3, 7, 10 years, because that's where your player is going to be as they improve. And the one thing I'll just add on to what you've mentioned with the other questions is coaches really need to have good communication skills. They need to be able to transfer that knowledge of what they have, ask good questions of their students so that the students can provide them the feedback so it doesn't become a be like me. I mean, I would never teach anyone to play my style of play because not only is it outdated, but you'd have to spend 7 hours off the table doing physical training. Most people don't have that amount of time. But what I can do is I can steal a good idea from Gao. I can steal a good idea from PK. Same with Mark and say, you know what, I learned this from these other coaches. So I think the collaboration is what we're going to see in courses 2, 3, 4, and 5 as we move forward, is that we'll take the best practices of all of these great coaches and work it into a way that our knowledge continues in our library of knowledge just continues to expand, because as PK says, it never finishes. The game always keeps reinventing itself. There's always new ways of returning a serve, or as Gao said, to just simply keep it on the table one shot longer than your opponent is comfortable with.
PK, she makes a great point. I'm going to end with PK here on this note, but this concept of we all only have a limited amount of time. I suppose that's kind of the underpinning of having the certification program online, to try to make it more accessible, to make it, more fundamentally easy for people to become coaches on the USATT system, but also to train these coaches to be able to maximize the amount of time that they get with their players. I would imagine that's a part of developing these programs, is realizing that in the modern world, people's time is extremely limited, and how do we maximize that?
Oh yeah, that's for sure true. Unfortunately, now we were forced to be in this situation also, so we need to be creative. Therefore, it's good that we have this meeting with all the people who want to follow the course at the end. And also, if there may be, it's not always there will be one person who talks to the coach, can be 2 or 3, so they can learn from each other also, right? They always, to me, dumb questions don't exist, right? If 8 of 10 questions they have, I think, well, that doesn't give me anything. But the 2 questions, I learned something from that. That's I expect actually from the interviews with the people who follow the course to learn something for myself, because this is a very interesting. A coach that who thinks he doesn't need to learn anything anymore is done. It's finished as a coach. Right? Every time when somebody asks me something, I need to give the good answer. I cannot get away with that because I tell you. I don't want to get away with this. So this is very important. So one point you asked to Gao about also internationally is what I think also is different methods of training. And if you look a little bit outside table tennis, so I know the NBA, I saw that they were practicing like free throws, right? And they practiced like 30 free throws in a row first. And then they came with the idea, but that never happens in a match, right? It's the same with us. If we do service practice, that never happens in a match. Why not space it out and do 15 times 2 free throws, 50 times 2 serves? And they need to be good, right? So you also practice the technique in the pressure situation. So I'm a little bit experimenting with this in practice also. I didn't find the best formula yet, but these are things we need to look at to do in a different way. So how, because technique, what we said before, we have a lot of videos about, is actually only interesting under pressure or when you're tired. Without pressure, it's not interesting to me to have 1,000 balls on the table in a row for on topspin, because that never happens in a match. But can you do it at 9-all in the 7th set? Can you do it there? And when you're tired or when your opponent just had a net or an edge ball, these are the interesting things. And that's actually why I'm a coach, because that triggers me.
That's a really great point about recreating game pressure. I don't care what the sport is, and practicing under that pressure so that when you're presented with it in live action, that you actually know how to respond. Great point, PK. I look forward to perhaps exploring that further in our coaching certification program. First of all, I want to thank all of you on behalf of USATT for the great work you've done on the program that's online currently. PK Franzen and Larry Hodges, and Dave Fullen, Gao Jun, all of the work that you've done thus far has paid off with that the course that is online right now. I want to remind everybody, if you do have the qualifications, if you're a USATT member, safe sport compliant, you signed the code of conduct, and you have the either a 1500 rating or you've been a member for 2 years, you can go online right now and follow the club level coaching certification program. Any questions, you can contact either me at the USATT office. Josh Dyke is in charge of it as well. We're really easy to find, but the program's up there. I'm going to encourage everybody to get there, start experiencing it. I'm really looking forward as you guys go and evolve the program as well. I want to thank everybody once more for being on. PK Franzen, thank you very much for your time this evening. And Larry Hodges, as always, great to see you, Larry. Dave, great work, great voiceover work as well. And Gao Jun, you are inimitable. You are the greatest. Love having you. Sean, thank you very much for your time. Josh as well. Have a great night, everybody. You've been listening to the Team Behind the Team interview with the USATT Coaching Committee staff.